So when it comes to understanding IBC, or the infinite banking concept, we've kind of led you up to this point where you say, well, Scott, how exactly does it work? So you should have listened to and viewed the video that talks about the foundation, because once you have a firm foundation, then you can build upon that foundation and it will last. So in our example, what I mean by the foundation is you need to learn some certain things first. And I gave you 3 things in that video for you to learn first. Then IBC begins to make sense. The infinite banking concept makes sense. Many people, because they haven't laid the foundation, when they try to learn this, become confused, stagnate, and then do nothing at their family and their business's peril. So we want you, now that you have the base foundation, let's talk about how it works. Because the typical person, when they see this, say, well, Scott, that sounds like magic, like money appearing from nowhere. So is infinite banking magic? You know, is it something that we have created? The answer is, of course not. What happens is we have 2 things, 2 strategies. So dial in and listen to this. If you have a piece of paper handy, jot this down. Number 1, we compress the time that you pay into this system. So because you are purchasing what's called a banking whole life insurance product that is both, that is participating, which means it participates in dividends. So every year, at the company's discretion, they will disperse a dividend to you based upon how much you put in. So if you put more money in the account, you get a higher dividend. Less money is a less dividend. But you need to understand that with the typical life insurance product, certainly the typical whole life insurance product, or indexed universal life, or what's referred to as IUL, or VL, variable life, or variable universal life, these different types of plans, they're typically a terrible place to warehouse money. Why? Because you have to pay for the insurance, and the insurance costs a lot. The older you are, the more the insurance costs. So Wellington has mastered a way that has been taught to us through the Nelson Nash Institute and my mentor Nelson Nash himself and many others in our community. We have been taught and then teach our clients now to compress the period of time that the cost of insurance is paid on these accounts. So most people, to give you a frame of reference, pay cost of insurance their entire life. So as long as the insurance stays in force, they pay for that insurance. So that's a long period of time. And what many people have discovered, for instance, your mortgage. If you take what was a 30-year mortgage and you compress the time, the monthly payment goes up, but the overall amount that you pay to interest goes down. So it becomes less expensive to compress the time and for you to have the 15-year mortgage. Now, we don't recommend doing that, but it proves this principle. Okay, so what we do is we compress the time on your insurance platform normally to 3 or 4 years for what's called the ongoing cost of insurance. You have 2 types of COI, or 2 types of costs of insurance. You have the ongoing, which goes from year to year, and you have the total, which goes all the way back to year 1. The ongoing cost of insurance on most of our plans is paid by year 3 or by year 4, somewhere in that age range. The total cost of insurance is normally paid within 10 years. So I'm going to talk with you about both of these numbers, but the first thing I want you to realize, no magic, we're compressing time. Okay, so as far as compression is concerned, we took time that should be this long and we compress it to this long. So we're compressing the length of time. The second thing we do is we compress, or we reduce, the cost of insurance. Now, what most people aren't aware is that this little thing called COI, cost of insurance, is available to be reduced as far as what the client pays. Now, so I'm clear on this, and so you get this. What that means is you could have the same total benefit, but pay less for your basic cost of insurance. The reason for that is because we can redirect money into a different type of product that sits on top of that base whole life called a PUA. That's paid up addition. And in client speak, a paid up addition is cash. Pure, cold, hard cash, okay? So not only are we compressing this, but we're compressing the cost itself. So the total, let me give you an example. If the total cost of insurance for a typical plan for a 35-year-old female to get $1 million whole life plan, if that total cost would be, say, $10,000 a year, then what we do is we compress that by 60%. So her cost will only be $4,000 a year. We take the extra $6,000 that she's not paying to cost of insurance. We lump it into a cash value account that's available, listen to this, immediately. So she can get that $6,000 24 hours later. Now, just to give you a point of reference, because without a point of comparison, point of reference, lots of data doesn't mean anything. A point of reference, the typical whole life plan, the typical cash value plan takes several years, listen to me, not hours, not weeks, not months, years before cash value in any significant amount shows up. Why? Because they're charging 100% cost of insurance. So the total face amount is all base. So they charge 100% for this. Now, Scott, why would they do that? Well, a couple reasons. Number one, because their commission, no one will ever tell you this, so shh, it's a secret between us. Their commission is based on this right here. It's called FYC, first year commission, comes from this. And so they're not going to tell you this. And you don't know what you don't know. So because you don't know about this, you never ask about this, right? And because you never ask, you pay way too much and you get way too little in return. So a lot of people, because of that, the Dave Ramseyites, they take that and say, well, look, you're paying this much for it. Cash doesn't show up for 3 or 4 years. What a terrible plan, right? And they're not all wrong about that. The way it's normally structured, very good for the agent or for the advisor, very bad for you, the client. So what we do is we reduce this by the maximum amount possible without you incurring any other fees. So this can be reduced from 100% down to 40%. So same benefit, you'll receive the same total benefit, but we shift it to cash and we supplement it with term. Now it's a little bit technical, so I don't want to lose you, but the base whole life plan costs more. It's expensive for the whole life. The term insurance that we can stack on top of it costs less. The IRS requires certain face amount to be put in this plan based upon how much cash you put in. So if you put, say, $10,000 a year in one of these plans, then the IRS requires that face amount to be a certain amount. Well, what these people do is they make that face amount all whole life. What we do is we make that face amount only a small percentage as possible into whole life. We supplement that with term insurance, which is much cheaper. How much cheaper, Scott? 60% cheaper. Same exact benefit, 60% less. Then we take that 60% and roll it into your account. So now we've compressed time and we've compressed cost. So somewhere in your notes, put compressed time, compressed cost. Because if you do those two things, then you see how this works. Okay, so let's give you some numbers. Year one, now I'm going to use some definitions here. So want to be very intentional with you about this, because there are so many people out there that are making infinite banking do things that it doesn't really do. They're making false claims, false assumptions. It's really deceptive. It's really inaccurate. They do that either out of ignorance or out of greed, but I don't care why they do it. The bottom result is it's wrong and you need to understand it, okay? So deal with an authorized practitioner. If you don't deal with an authorized practitioner, there is no regulatory body. The Nelson Nash Institute is the singular, the only, the sole consumer protection advocacy group in the United States for infinite banking, for IBC, okay? So I'm going to use the word deposit. Now, just so you know, it's not a deposit, it's a premium. We're talking about life insurance, okay? But we're not talking about the typical life insurance plan. As I've demonstrated, we're compressing everything, right? So it's not your typical life insurance plan. We refer to it as a banking whole life. So somewhere in your notes, put the phrase, this is kind of a, a standardized trademark phrase from us, banking whole life. Okay, so that's what this is. When I say deposit, I'm talking about a premium. But I want you to compare it to your bank. Because if you compare this to your bank, I think you'll be blown away. And remember what you've learned up to this point, the location principle, all money must live somewhere. And because all money must live somewhere, we make the case there's no better place in the world for it to live than right here, at least for a period of time. So here's how it works. That deposit is the premium. The deposit credit, okay, what that really is what your cash value is growing by that year. So the cash value increase is your deposit credit rate, your DCR in our terminology. So the very first year, to give you an example, $10,000 comes out of your account, your public bank account. What's deposited into your privatized banking system of accounts, because you should end up having several of these, every member of your family for starters or your business. What's deposited immediately. Now remember the typical whole life plan, what is it? Zero, right? Year after year after year, at least for the first 3 years, zeros. Well, with us, in 24 hours, $6,000 populates. So you got $6,000 in your account. People always ask me, yeah, Scott, but when can I borrow that? When can I get my hands on that money? I'm like, the next day if you want it. As soon as you want, you can access that money. And the reason why, remember, 40% goes to cost of insurance. We've reduced this as much as possible, leaving $6,000 going to immediate cash. Pretty good, huh? See, you were blessed to come across this video. So look at number 2. Step number 2, if you go to year 2 in your plan, let's say you do the same thing. You have a $10,000 annual payment drafted out of your account going into this account. That year only, not total, but this year only, will deposit $8,500. So the deposit, what's coming out of your account, $10,000. The deposit credit, $8,500. Pretty good. What's that tell you? That tells you we're attacking the total cost of insurance. Here it's only $1,500. So we're doing good. Year 3, you put $10,000 in, $9,500. Now some people, it's higher than that. But let's say it's $9,500. So right now, only $500 is going toward your cost of insurance for the whole year. Okay? By year 4, that's normally when the magic happens. But you've already seen there's no magic at all. It's just we're not greedy. We build these maximized for efficiency for your cash value, right? So here's what happens in year 4. Normally $10,400. gets deposited into your account. So let's stop and consider this for a second. Most people will say, 10,000, Scott, if I deposited 10, my bank's not going to give me a deposit credit for 6. They'll give me all 10. True. But stick with us. You get a lot of other stuff for that $4,000, right? You're getting a lot for it. But then if you go down to here, when you deposit 10,000, your bank's not going to give you a deposit credit for 10,400 either. So if you fast forward to year 10, this cycle continues to grow. By this point, it's 12,800. To do some quick math for you here, that's a 28% cash flow on a virtually fixed, guaranteed financial instrument. 28%, pretty good. If you fast forward out to year 20, it's almost double. You'll see it's real close. 10,000 comes out of your account. You will receive a deposit credit for $20,000 1 year later once your dividend is applied. So that's the discounting principle. We discount this as much as we possibly can. Final note, there are 2 types of ways you can capitalize your account. An annual payment, that's what the IRS requires, at least 7 annual payments, or you can do it monthly, but you can do it that way, or you can do a lump sum. A lump sum can be done year 1 only. I gave you the percentages here for the annual funding. The lump sum funding, what's this? $100%. So the money you put in there in year 1, if you put $100,000 in it, $100,000 shows up in year 1. This is the discounting principle.